Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery. It is a beautiful Wednesday morning. Today is July 23rd, 2025. We get together most weekday mornings at 8 o'clock Central, just like now, with the opportunity to visit with each of you, talk about the grant, problem solve, and hopefully position us in aggregate to go help more clients so you can make more money and they get funding. With that being said, today we have the 509pacific.org website pulled up, and there's a few items I wanted to go through. Mark's asking, and a number of you have shown interest in participating in the outsourced business development program. Yes, there are a few slots left. All you need to do is just text us on the support line, and we can plug you in if you'd like. Those past trainings are, of course, up on YouTube. All right, thanks, Mark, for that. What I want to do is take kind of a contrarian view, a contrary view of let's take a look at what we do. And when I say we, I'm talking about you and us, all of us together for this campaign. We're on the same team. I want to talk about what we do and frankly look at some pros and cons of each element. So we can look at it more objectively and maybe at a higher level. So on 509pacific.org, the primary thing that we do is we help create fundable businesses. We've received a grant. The grant is designed to solve a problem. There's lots of small business owners that want money, that need money, but many of them don't have a fundable business. A lot of them don't even know what that means. So the grant has three mandates, if you remember. Number one is to improve financial literacy. Number two is to provide free Shelf Corps to small businesses. And then third, use that knowledge and use those Shelf Corps to get funding for them. So, I mean, all that sounds pretty good, but there's pros and cons of everything. Now, with the grant, we're giving away the Shelf Corps. The client would just pay for the processing fee, and the amount of the processing fee is determined by our distribution partner or reseller or branch office. So that's good. I mean, so that everyone's literally getting a 10,000 grant allocation up front. They don't have to pay for the Shelf Corp the way that everyone used to. But it's still not entirely free. They're going to pay the processing fee. So, what's the pros and cons? Well, I guess a pro is by having a benefit of having people have some skin in the game is that it's good because we don't want to teach these young entrepreneurs that don't have the experience and education like you and I have, that entrepreneurialism is a welfare program. It's not, right? The cost to run a business, there's a cost of raising capital, but we're still giving them a hell of a subsidy, right, with the grant. So pros and cons there. But what I wanted to get into more is the deliverable. So when we're delivering these free Shelf Corps, as it states here, let me try to make this a bit larger so maybe it's even clearer. So what are we providing in the free Shelf Corp? Well, the pros are that we are providing them a business entity, so it's in good standing at the state and federal level. We're including a business plan already drawn up, ready to go, financial projections already drawn up, ready to go. We provide a unique commercial address for free. All they pay is for just the mail forwarding, and then we provide some collateral. So it's kind of like a business in a box. So that's a pro. That's very convenient. Now, the con with that is it's a business in a box. So if they want something different, it's not that this won't work, but we're going to have to edit it, right? So these are built as management consulting industry codes, which is some of the easiest to get funding. So it all makes sense. I mean, it does what it says that it does. However, we have to keep in mind that if people want something different, then we're going to have to make changes because we wouldn't know what's in their mind. And that's going to tie to our primary conversation point today. So we can certainly change everything from the name of the business. We can change the the business plan, the forecast. So it's all editable, but I just want us to be clear. It comes as a business in a box, so that's good. If they're ready, if they're content with that, we can take it right to funding. If they need us to make changes, we can, but that will require a little more time, of course, right? If you buy a suit and if it already fits right, then you just wear it out of the store or take it home and you're ready to wear it. But if it needs tailoring, it's going to take some time. One con, I think, another con of our approach, well, it is great. So the pro is it's great, right? It's a free Shelf Corp. It provides that infrastructure that entrepreneurs need. So that's good. But a con is that we divide it into two phases. So phase one is when we're providing the Shelf Corp to the client, takes us normally about 7 days. And then in terms of the second phase, that's where we go into funding. Now, we can get them their first tranche of funding right away, so that's a pro. But typically, that first round of funding isn't everything that they want. Normally, we need to do some more tweaks to the Shelf Corp. We might need to go ahead and add the trade lines, get the DUNS number, just a few tweaks. So not a real barrier, but we do need to understand that it's a two-phase, a two-step approach. Get them the Shelf Corp in about 7 days. Then we go into the funding process. We can get them their first tranche right away. But it may take a little bit of time, often 30 days, to get the Shelf Corp ready for that large capital raise. So I don't think it's a con in the sense that other people can build a fundable business quicker. I don't think it's possible. But a lot of people in our society want instant results. Tram asked about in the chat box legality. Of course, it's legal. Everything is legal if it's not illegal. Of course, there has to be a law that states it's illegal, but we don't even get into the gray area. Providing folks all of this is just normal business. And then what we're doing here in the second phase is further helping them legally and ethically have a fundable business. Yeah, so no issues about legality, not even gray, not even fuzzy. All right, so with that, let's kind of call this a business in a box, and then we can use that Shelf Corp to go for funding. It's built out for a minimum of 100,000. There's no cap. We can go after as much as they want. But if we're going to change the assumptions, if we're going to change the business plan or financials, we need to go into it eyes wide open that we're going to need to work with the client to change it because we know exactly how to build these and get these funded. But a lot of times clients want something that's more complicated. So I'm going to go from this to the bottom of the page. I'm going to skip over the whole distribution partner component today. That's not really my focus. But we're going to go from kind of the business in a box with guaranteed funding, and then we're going to go down to business consulting. And we've not really talked much about this, but I think it is important that you understand it. And then we're looking at building our consulting team. So if you're interested in becoming one of our consultants, we would just need to get your bio or your resume, as well as what your billing rate would be. So when we have a client that has more complicated needs, when they don't want a business in a box, when they don't want our standard approach, then we move them down into our consulting division. So the consulting division is complete one-on-one, personalized, unique services. So in this sense, we're providing personalized and professional assistance from our business paralegals to help clients. So this is our consulting division we've not talked much about. Probably 99% of the time, this will not be relevant to your world. Most people are going to be very content with getting a Shelf Corp, even if we need to make some tweaks, and then going to funding. So this is going to work almost all the time. But I suspect if you're active, you will run into some people, as I do, that want to have a unique one-off. So they don't want what our package is. They want funding, right? So we're still working towards funding. That hasn't changed. But how they want to get there doesn't match our business in a box. It doesn't match the Shelf Corp. So that's where the business consulting comes in. So this is where we're providing them one-on-one assistance from our advisors. We can provide this consulting at their place of service or distance-based, phone, email, Zoom. We can help with any aspect of business, so that's not a problem. But here it's going to be off of an hourly rate. And that's kind of normal, right? If you contacted, like I used to work at Deloitte, was called Deloitte and Touche. And so if you were to call up McKinsey or Goldman Sachs or Deloitte or Arthur Anderson, you could retain their advisors, their consultants, but you're going to be paying an hourly rate depending upon the level of the staff you're working with. Partner levels, usually 500 to 1,000 an hour. Your rank and file consultants are usually around 250 an hour. Your admins usually around 75 to 100 an hour. So whether it be consulting or law firms, that's how they work. That's how the business consulting division works. So I don't want to distract you because most of what we're going to be doing is the Shelf Corp pre-built, easy, fast. But on occasion, you may very well run into people that have more sophisticated needs. So what's my point today? Number one, wanted to make you aware of this. So there may be some instances where you run into a client and they want something that's above and beyond or different from the Shelf Corp and the Shelf Corp process, then that's fine. Then we can do the business consulting. It'll be set up on an hourly rate basis. So that's point number one. And we have a couple consulting clients now, but we're starting to promote it more. And then secondly is if any of you would like to be on our consulting team. So if you have the skills and the time and the availability, we can put you in our manual. So then as we're getting consulting clients, we could pull you in on projects based upon your skill set. So again, if you're interested in that, you would just simply need to email us your resume or bio, which obviously should show your areas of expertise, as well as what your hourly rate would be. We have some clients that come that want really large capital raises, really large capital raises, and we'll normally consider that 5 million or above. So there's some buffering there, but typically if it's a what we call a jumbo capital raise, normally those folks will be better suited here. One reason is that if you recall, with the Shelf Corp, when we're doing the capital raise, the clients pay 10% performance fee, right? And 5% of that goes to you for bringing the client. So that's great. So if they're raising 100,000, then they're paying a 10% performance fee. We rarely get a pushback on that, and it puts 5,000 in your pocket. But let's say we're going after a $10 million capital raise. Well, a lot of folks, they don't want to pay 10% of $10 million. That's a lot of money. So that's where we move down typically into the consulting, where there is no performance fee attached to it. It's a pure hourly rate project. Anyone have questions on the business consulting division in terms of what we do or in terms of you having the opportunity to be part of our team? Because a number of you have a lot of skill set, very valuable skill sets, and having you as part of this team would be great. I look at Drake. I look at Farah. I mean, many of you, Jennifer, Mr. Hall, Mr. Certain, a number of you, we would be pleased to have you as part of our consulting team. But you would need to send us your resume or bio and what your hourly rate would be and make sure it fits. Because some of you, when we've had this discussion before, some of you are looking at 1,000 or more an hour, and that kind of prices out of our market. So some of you we just can't afford you. But we also would love, illustrations of what type of consulting projects you've done before. All right, so let me scroll through and see if anyone has questions on the business consulting. So Selena brings up a good point. Yeah, so some of you are operating as consultants with your clients now, and that's fine. We're not seeking to alter that. And I think that's great. I think for any of you that are developing your own clients, that you're providing additional resources and services to them and getting paid. That's perfect. So we're not competing with you in that at all. That's not what we're talking about. So just to be clear, we don't offer business consulting services to our normal clients. So it's not like you have to be worried of, oh, if you refer in a client for Shelf Corp, they're going to be pitched the business consulting services. No, no. Most of the time, the majority of the time, everyone's just fine with the Shelf Corp and then the phase two funding. What I'm trying to describe, though, is for those more sophisticated capital raises where they may not want to pay a 10% performance fee, we can do it purely on an hourly basis. But it's going to be paid just like any accountant or attorney would be. It's not going to be based upon the outcome. It's going to be based upon hours worked. And of course, we have to have all that documented and such. But it's a great fit for more sophisticated capital raises. The majority of your clients, I think, are going to be just fine with the rank and file. All right. Kenny says private lender 12 million. I don't know what that means, Kenny. Well, I know what that means, but I don't know what the context of your comment is. So maybe you can explain that. Selena asked if she can apply for a Shelf Corp. Well, of course, Selena. So you go to 509pacific.org. That's what this information's about. And right here, click here for the grant packet. So anyone that's needing a Shelf Corp, if you're not working with a reseller, you'd come right here and we would be able to get you set up. Not a problem. There's an important training to watch as well, but it's not required. All right, so she said thank you on that. Yeah, Kenny's bringing up a point. So if a client does not want to pay a 10% performance fee, that would be a great indicator that we need to move them over into the consulting division. That was his point. Thank you, Kenny, for explaining. So I picked up on it. Mr. Hall's asking about the hourly rate. So if it's our consulting engagements and you want to be part of it, Mr. Hall, we'll get your information. Like I said, we need your resume or bio and your hourly rate. That's what we're going to pay you. We're going to manage the client relationship, and then you'll be paid your hourly rate, but we'll be charging the client our rates. So you would be paid as you would expect. We're not asking you to share any of your rates with us, but that's essentially what our cost to have you consult with our clients would be. All right, let's see what other questions we have. Kenny says that most clients just want simply the simplistic business in a box, and that's correct. But some have really unique needs. And here's an example. Yesterday, even I had a client that came and said that they just simply they wanted services that were above and beyond what we promised to provide. So they wanted extra services. So it wasn't like a misunderstanding because the agreement's agreement. The agreement says what we're going to do. There's a list of deliverables. I think it's Exhibit E, the last page. Well, we can even pull it up. Let's click on this. It'll open a new page. And then again, this is the business in the box. This is the Shelf Corp. So it brings it up. All of you should have this. If you're running your own contracts, you're using our template. If you're using the OBD, we take care of everything for you. But if we go to the bottom of the packet, it has, sorry, it's taking a while to populate. Get down to the bottom, Exhibit E, the resources, right? So this says what's included, which a good contract should, right? It should describe what it is that we do. So my point is sometimes people want different deliverables. So we have a client that wants us to have power of attorney and do some of the task for him that normally he would do. Like he wants us to go open the bank account for him where normally the client would. Well, that's fine, but you see, that's not part of the deliverables of the normal. So if clients want us to do additional services, sure we can, but then it would fall under the hourly. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, so JC's asking, and it's a good question because I think I've opened a can of worms that's my fault, not yours. So just because they want a different use of funds, because the Shelf Corp set up for 100,000 working capital, it's pre-built for it, but it's just fine if they instead they want real estate or they want to acquire an existing business or start a franchise. All of that's fine. That won't be a problem for the standard model. So changing the uses of funds or changing the dollar amount alone is not a problem. It's just if they want a different scope of services, because this is very defined, right? There's a set number of services that's provided. Some of these folks, they want more help, they want more involved advice or consulting or assistance. And so that's where the business consulting would come in. So JC, no, we're fine with real estate or acquisitions. Now, if they want us to go in and negotiate the purchase price with the seller in an acquisition, then what's that? That's going to be business consulting because that's not in the scope that's stated. Selena mentions she tells her clients that if they want to change the standard Shelf Corp, it'll take longer, and that's true. It's not a real problem, but sure. And that's the analogy I used earlier. I bought a new suit from Nordstrom's, and so if you buy a suit off the shelf, it's good to go. But if you're going to have it tailored, of course, it takes longer. It doesn't mean it's a problem, doesn't mean it's bad, but of course, it's going to take longer. Therefore, yes, that's a true statement. But people deserve to get what they want, so it's not a problem. But we've built something that's turnkey. If they want to accept that, that's the fastest. Mark is asking about the OBD, which is the outsourced business development, which we talked about on Monday's training. And that's where we do all the marketing for you all. We develop the leads, we present to the leads, we close the leads, we get the leads under contract, we collect the money, and we send you money. So it's completely outsourced marketing. We do it for free. All you're doing is paying for the ad spend because we've got to spend money on ads to attract clients. And he's asking if he can split the ad spend. And the answer is yes, that's fine. All right, Michelle asked about the first tranche. That's good. So let's go back to the business in a box, which is mainly what we're going to be dealing with. So we'll get them their deliverables normally in 7 days, which states here. They'll receive an email and you'll be copied on it. It'll have the deliverables that we promised, and then it will have a link to go right into phase 2, which is a one-page funding app. We've gone through it on trainings before, but the top half of the funding app is business information. And frankly, they can leave it blank because we have all of that on the Shelf Corp. And then the bottom half is the key person information, the business owner, someone that owns 20% or more. They would need to fill that out, obviously, because they know that information better than us. From that, we'll go ahead and get them their first round of funding. We'll normally get them offers within 24 hours. We had a success story. Was it last week? Was it Brittany? Trying to pull from memory. Brittany had received like $250,000 in first tranche offers, but not everybody gets that amount. Some people get more, some people get less. Michelle's question is, what if their credit's bad? Well, we don't filter off of credit. And as we covered on yesterday's training, we love people with bad credit. They're some of our best clients. They need our help. And as it even states here in the big font, we provide free credit assistance. So everyone will get a first tranche offer, but it is true, the stronger their profile, the more offers they'll have. So it's not a problem. The first tranche is going to consider the credibility of the business owner, where our real focus is to use the Shelf Corp, get it strong where we can leverage the business for the funding. But that would be the second tranche, the larger capital raise. Let's see. Yeah, Kenny brings up a good point. When we send the initial deliverables, there's actually a subset that we normally deliver initially. Then we have a conversation with the client and then ask, are there any things that you're wanting to change? Because what we want to do is avoid rework. So let's say that they say, well, everything's great, but they want to change the name. They want it to be some unique name that they prefer. That's fine. Then we can make that change. And then normally we would get the EIN after we make that name change. So you're right that we'll provide the initial set of deliverables within 7 days, which include the state filing, the business plan, the financial projections. But then normally we like to have a conversation with them, see what type of edits they want before we wrap it all up. That's a good point. All right, let's see here. JC's talking about the second phase. So we have two phases, and we've had separate discussions on this, but we have two phases and two different agreements, right? So phase one is this. It's this agreement here that we link to. You all have this flyer in editable format. You all have this comparison sheet in editable format. You have the agreement. So phase one is the client purchasing the Shelf Corp. Technically, they don't purchase it because the grant pays for it, but they're paying you the processing fee. So that's phase one, agreement one. And then we deliver the deliverables in about a week. Then we go into phase two, the funding phase. If they wish, they don't have to do that, but that is a separate agreement. And that's what I was alluding to earlier. So it's not a problem. It's a different set of deliverables. Phase one, frankly, is not about getting funding. It's about getting prepared for funding. And then here we're actually going for funding, and we'll go for funding immediately. So yes, two different agreements. You as the reseller branch office, you're handling agreement number one. We handle agreement number two, but you're paid the 5% off of agreement number two. So hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, it's important. You want your clients to read the agreement so they know, when they're buying a Shelf Corp from you, just as we said, here at the bottom, there's a specific set of deliverables and they need to know what they're getting because it's valuable. It's great. And with the Shelf Corp, they're getting the grant, they're getting it free. But what we don't want them to think in their mind is that there's number 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? If they're thinking there's a bunch of other things, then they're likely to be disappointed because that's not what we promised. What we've done, especially recently, is if we have a client that's in the Shelf Corp and they come back and they had some different expectations, they thought that it had other elements included. What we've done is just said, okay, write down, create a list of what you think that you want that's not part of the normal package. It's not a problem. And then what we'll do is we'll price it out and then we can provide those extra services that you want. But clearly, extra services are not part of the base agreement. The base agreement is clear. It's in writing. All right. So anyone else have questions on what's included with the free Shelf Corp? Questions on phase one versus phase two? And/or questions off of the consulting division, which you're welcome to be part of the team. If you want to be one of our consultants, we would need, again, get your bio or resume so we know what your areas of expertise are and then what your billing rate is. Some of you have offered to be a consultant, but you do not want to do any face-to-face consulting. Like when I was at Deloitte, when I first got out of graduate school, we might be on client site for a month straight, say goodbye to your home and family for a month. And you're normally working 12, 14 hours a day on the client site. So it's very lucrative, but you might say, hey, no, you're only willing to do the distance based, and that's fine. So you're not being forced into anything. We just need to know if you're willing. But With some of your backgrounds, I think you're kind of cheating the clients. Take Toby Moore. And Toby, we would love to have you on the consulting team with your background. Terrence Connell, who's a CPA, very important to have you on the team. So yeah, anyone that's interested, Mike C from the USA, we'd love to have you on here. Okay, any other questions, comments, concerns? Just trying to go back and cover the basics. We've had lots of exciting conversations over the past few days. The OBD has been just an absolute grand slam. Several of you are already active in it, already getting leads pumped through. And so you're actually getting live feed of leads. Each time a lead is generated through our marketing program, you're getting notified. Now, you're not responsible to do anything. Our team does it all, but it's pretty exciting to get up in the morning and see 16. Who was it? Was it Pauline? Uh, Forgive me if I got this wrong. Pauline, I think, was the one that got up this morning. She already has 16 new leads from the time that she went to sleep last night, and they'll continue to come through the day. So Jennifer mentions, yeah, we plan to start at August 1st, but we had people that were ready to get started in July, so we're actually already implementing it now. So the OBD, separate conversation, encourage you to go back and watch Monday's recorded YouTube if you missed it. But yeah, if you want to get started now, we can get started now. All right, well, I think we covered a lot. If you have follow-up questions, you know how to reach us. We'll be transitioning into our new office building over the next couple weeks. We're getting really close. The first round of staff will actually move into the new office building July 31st, and then the rest of us will be moving in August, but exciting news there. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you back tomorrow morning. Let us know if you need anything. Bye-bye.